without further ado, I think it is time to introduce our next speaker. I imagine you've heard of SEGA, you certainly should, but we're very lucky to have SEGA Europe's head of content, Bobby Wertheim, join us. So, and Bobby's going to be talking, well, I think the title says it all. Are you SEGA's next big hit? I mean, that should be a tantalizing idea for anybody, even if that's not exactly you. A tremendous opportunity to learn about, you know, how an organisation like SEGA finds its hits and just this process generally in the game industry. I can see Bobby has joined us. So hello, Bobby. Thank you so much for joining us. I can hear you as well, so that's good. So once again, we'll assume there's a riotous applause from our audience. Yeah, over to you, Bobby.
Thank you very much, Will. So I'll share my screen and hopefully it will go swimmingly. Right. So thank you very much for joining, everyone. The talk today is called "Are You SEGA's Next Big Hit?" And really, to answer that, I'd like to explain what it is that SEGA's doing, and then you'll know if this is something for you or not. And please do approach me after the talk. I've still got some slots available, and we can look to see if indeed there is a synergy there. So without further ado, I'll talk about SEGA SEARCHLIGHT. Right, so what is SEGA SEARCHLIGHT? It's SEGA's incubation program. We are a small team based in SEGA Europe. We operate globally. If it wasn't for the lockdown, I'd normally travel everywhere looking for really cool, talented developers to work with. And really what we're doing is supporting, nurturing, and helping studios to bring great games to market, right? And what basically we want to do is create new original IP. We're not necessarily on the hunt for working on licensed properties or leveraging SEGA's back catalogue. And even though when SEARCHLIGHT was first started about four years ago, there was two missions that we had. One was to do exactly what I've just been talking about just now, but also the other mission was to leverage SEGA's back catalogue. So bringing Shenmue 1 and 2 to multi-platform, and Yakuza franchise to PC, and all these really great Japanese IP games that we brought to PC and other platforms was something that our team was doing. But now our absolute focus is on building new original IP. And we're not looking for opportunistic pickups, right? What we're looking to do is to create real, meaningful, long-term partnerships. And in layman's terms, what we're looking to do is to find studios to add to SEGA's roster and acquire studios. But rather than going out and just splashing out and buying loads of studios, what we're looking to do is, to use a dating analogy, is to start dating, do project financing, create a rapport and a relationship, and find success together. And once we've got there and we're still wanting to continue that relationship and even take it to the next level, then we talk about acquisition. And that's our end game. That's our end goal. We're trying to do things differently. We don't want to do just traditional third-party publishing. We're trying to find the right balance, right? And we're constantly asking ourselves, what is it that we offer? And how is it that working with us is actually a good idea? And we think it's a great idea. We think we've got a really great program. But we're still constantly asking ourselves and evolving, right? But what's key to us is making sure we've got a developer focus and a fairness in our approach, and being in it for the long haul. I think those things are really what makes us different. And I'll talk a bit more about what differentiates us as we go through some of these slides. So this slide, what you see here is all the logos of the studios that are wholly owned by SEGA that fall under SEGA Europe. So there's obviously other studios under SEGA, but these are the SEGA Europe studios. Oddly, Relic Entertainment, who are based in Vancouver, Canada, are here, and obviously they're part of Europe now. But what's really interesting in our approach is, for about 7 years now, SEGA's internally, we've been saying that we've got a pillar structure. That's the structure we've put in place. And what is a pillar, right? So a pillar is a studio, essentially, that's wholly owned by SEGA. they're working really independently, a high degree of autonomy. And what they're doing is growing their business and diversifying their brand with their own vision, and they have their own unique sense of culture. Like if you ask any member of staff from any of Sega studios, who do you work for, they probably won't say Sega. They'll probably say the name of the studio that they're part of, right? And we're really proud of that we have this diverse kind of team, such diverse teams. They're all in different parts of where they are as a business. They're in different stages of where they are in terms of building their franchise and their brand. Some of them have multiple IPs. Some of them are working on their first IP. But what really kind of brings them together, and that they all have in common, is that they are very different in how they approach things. That they do manage their own communities, and they create their own long-term strategies, product roadmaps, and they're all P&L responsible, right? So it's almost like they're independent studios, but they just happen to be owned by Sega. And Searchlight, the team that I'm in, our mission is to add to these pillars. So a really good example of one to talk about is 2 Point Studios, where we did a publishing deal. We fully financed the game. We published it globally, and within a year, they achieved their 3-year forecast. They blew everything away. They're really overperforming. We absolutely love each other. And within a year of releasing the game, we acquired the studio. And that's the kind of model that we want to replicate, right? And there's different ways of us looking at investments, but that's certainly one way of doing investments. Obviously, we could go straight M&A or equity investment, or there's different approaches. But that route is the route that I described with 2 Point Studios is the one that we've got the most experience in so far. And what we're doing is creating an environment of success, right? By applying our unique sort of like creatively led approach, where we're not going out speaking to studios saying, hey, we've got this great game idea and a sack of money, can you make it for us, right? We're not doing that. We're talking to people saying, what is your vision? What do you really want to achieve? And what's the relationship that you want? And what makes most sense as a partnership for us? And kind of taking that approach and having a bespoke approach rather than going this one way that Sega works is now the way that you work. We treat our partners as we would do. So Searchlight, when I say we, Searchlight treats its partners, its studios, as if they are an internal studio from day one. Because our end game is to create pillars and end up having this long-term relationship, we want to start the relationship off on the right footing. And really, to be as clear as possible, what we do is we do full funding. We don't take the IP. We don't take over the creative ownership, but we provide lots of information throughout development and beyond to ensure that our partners have all the right data points, right? So that they can make informed decisions on what's the best thing to do for their brand, for their game, and their community. And we help our studios realize their creative vision. So, what do we offer? We offer time to create and deliver on the vision. To innovate, it does take time. Something on paper might sound great, like this great feature, right? And it sounds great. You implement it, you do all the hard work, and then you actually do it, and it's like, not quite working. Maybe you have to scrap it and start all over again, and then quickly things take longer than you expected on a project level. And on a franchise level and building a brand, it also takes time. It's not often, right, that you get a one hit, just a sudden hit, and suddenly you're off. Sometimes you have to start it off, build a community, and grow it over time. And Sega's celebrating its 60th anniversary this year, and we've learned a thing or two about building franchises, and it does take time. And in terms of infrastructure to build and execute a strategy for the vision, we've got lots of unglamorous stuff like IT and security, but they're really important things, as well as a global distribution network, marketing, development services, research, recruitment, all sorts, tax advice, whatever. And we've got proprietary tools and tech that can be leveraged. And the key thing is that all of these parts are all coordinated. It's a well-oiled machine. It's ready to work together, and it's better than the sum of those individual parts, right? And that infrastructure, I think, is really something that we can leverage well. In terms of expertise, so there's obviously a lot of expertise within the publishing side, and whether it be on marketing, sales, community management, whatever. But also, there's a lot of expertise we've got throughout our studios, and we really believe that horizontal communication is just as important as that kind of vertical, typical reporting upwards communication. And we've got a network of studios where they have great studio heads, have a lot of experience, not only from all the years of experience that they have had, but also they've got really relevant experience because they're still doing it today, right? And often we have to figure out how to deal with challenges like COVID, for example. So there's a network of studios that you can immediately talk to, and it's never we're really mindful of never crossing the line and being really clear about the role and responsibility, where we don't encroach and start to take over the creative, right? But it's really good, I think, for developers who are innovating. They typically want feedback, right? And so having that available with a group of people that you can trust and that you believe in, that you respect, I think is really is a huge value to that. And finally, obviously, financing to fund the vision, but not just a project, right? But actually the longer term vision. So we've got that in abundance, and there's clearly a lot of incentives that come with it. We've got a great marketing, branding, PR team at our disposal, and we can really turn things on to ensure that the game is discovered. And this slide is just showing some of the functions that we've got internally in terms of publishing services on the left, corporate services in the middle, and development services on the right. And there's nothing really new here. This is all standard stuff that you'd expect any publisher to have. But I think what sets us apart is that we really do treat our partners as an internal studio. So it could be HR, right? You could put your vacancies on our HR website, getting more eyeballs on it if you're a studio that no one's really heard of. But you clearly are a talented team. That's why we're working with you. But if it's on a SEGA website, maybe you can get more eyeballs on that vacancy, and you can secure those senior members of staff and convince them to move with their families, right? Because obviously, if they're senior, maybe they're a bit older and they've got family and everything. And if there's a name like SEGA attached, maybe it's, there's a sense of stability and credibility there. It could be our web services team who create bespoke websites for each of our games and keep it maintained and working on all devices. Or maybe it's our market research team providing, playtest, focus tests, or quantitative surveys, and crunching all that data and providing it in a way that's really digestible. I could talk about this stuff for a bit too long, but anyway, the key thing is that whatever we have is at our partner's disposal, and it's not you must use these services. It's the service is there, and it's convenient, and it's good quality, and if you want to use it, feel free. And all of our pillars use SEGA central services in different ways. Some of them leverage SEGA more than others, and I think that's really cool, that we don't look to duplicate unnecessarily, but we do make sure that we work in a way that makes sense for the partnership. So this is like the slide to show the process, like the really big overview. And on the far left is where I really focus personally. I go out, finding really cool, talented studios to work with, and then look to secure that deal and get an agreement on the contract. And then from then on, we generally speaking have a dedicated team of people working on your game. To incubate, that phase is probably easiest described as pre-production and production phase up to release. And then throughout these first three phases, we're always talking about not just a project, but that longer term vision, right? And that incubation phase could be anywhere between, I don't know, a year, 2 years, 3 years. And even during that phase, we're constantly talking about it, and we're ensuring that we're evolving that vision. And that's not SEGA, kind of forcing anything, but it's just, making sure that we're working on it, that we're not forgetting about why we're doing this project. And then once we release the game, we should have actually not a vision, but a plan that we can actually, that Sega can execute on, that we can have budgets and dates set towards certain things that we're doing to ensure that we can grow the community and the brand and help diversify it. And at some point, we want to talk about acquisition, right? And look to acquire the studio and integrate them over time. The acquisition could happen during the initial development of the game. It could happen after the release of that game, or maybe further in the future. We don't have a set, this is when we do it, but we do it when it makes sense for that relationship. And in terms of integration as well, we don't look to rush the integration. What we definitely don't want to do is to mess up what made that relationship great. So, you know, we definitely want to retain the talent in the team, the culture in the team, and ensure that we have all the time that's needed to integrate the team into Sega. And once the team is ready, then we can look to put them into that pillar status, and that's when we've done a good job as a team. So for us, releasing of the game is really, it's kind of in the middle of the process. That's not the end game for us. And why sign with Sega Searchlight? So it's a tailored approach that we have. We scale to what the needs of the studio that we're working with is. We look to leverage what Sega has globally. So Searchlight, even though it's a small team, actually we're talking about a much bigger infrastructure that we're going to leverage. We use that scale to maximize the opportunity and make a really fantastic game that's loved by many. And there's a lot of heritage, the credibility. There's a lot of opportunities that we can do in terms of cross IP collaboration as well, which is really cool if that's appropriate, and that's what our the partner would like to do. And you keep control of your vision and your IP, and it's genuine. I cannot stress this enough. It's a genuinely, truly a partnership approach. So yeah, I think that's why you would sign with Sega Searchlight. And one more slide on before I go. So what are we currently looking for? Because these things do change. But yeah, what we're currently looking for is a talented team with a really great vision, not only a game, but actually a great vision, and the credibility to be able to deliver on it, right? That's really important. And a team that buys into our philosophy and the approach that I've just described. And yeah, definitely a fantastic game that's targeting PC and console platforms. We're not really doing mobile at the moment, or VR or AR, although we always keep one eye on it. At the moment, our focus is on PC console and premium with some kind of post-launch support. And maybe some people describe it as living games. It doesn't have to always tick all these boxes, right? But these are some of the things that I use as my guiding principle when I'm going out talking to people. And a game that leverages Sega strengths. We want to make sure that we're not just a bank, but we are actually a really credible partner, that our partner that's working with us will feel like, Sega's awesome, right? Because if it's a really good match, it should be that way. So yeah, we want to work with projects that leverages what we're good at already. So that's my talk for today. Thank you for listening. There's an email if you do want to get in touch. I've still got some slots available to have meetings if that sounded interesting to you guys. And I'm open to questions if there are any.
Right, I think that's my time to step in. Now then, dear audience, you have currently not asked any questions in the Q&A app. You should see the Q&A link below the screen, below the slides. So please do pop some in there. Fortunately, I've got two have appeared. Here they come. Just while we let a few of those filter in, Bobby, just wanted to ask about, it's fascinating, that idea of treating an external team like an internal team once you have this kind of relationship secured. And, that's fascinating. You touched on the many gains that brings. How do you balance that, or how would you reassure a developer, I guess, who's thinking about, reasonable creative freedom? Of course, it's a partnership, right? But yeah, just be really interesting at what you'd say to the developer who's saying, oh, if I become an external team, do I hold on to what I am as a studio? So yeah, be fascinated to hear on that one.
Yeah, so we're quite transparent with our approach, and we do our partners are really welcome to speak to any of SEGA's internal studios and the leadership teams there, and hear about their relationship with SEGA, right? And they've been doing it for quite a few years now, and they've all got their own relationship that they've got, and I think SEGA's not ever going to be perfect. Like, no individual is perfect, right? But we're always striving to be better and always willing to learn. And from those discussions, I think people feel like, oh, actually, I'm not just hearing it from Bobby, but I'm hearing it from this guy and this person and this person. So actually, this sounds like it is what Bobby said it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that transparency is really important, right? Yeah, that, you know, I'm sure that'll be very encouraging to the audience. We've got, I'll move over to some of the questions now because they are coming in. We have 10 minutes max, guys, or 9 minutes. So yeah, a good number of questions, but there's still space for more, I hope. A very direct one for you here, Bobby, which is, what are the next steps to apply?
Yeah, so, yeah.
Reach out.
Definitely. So this email address that you can reach out to me with, or I do look at my LinkedIn as well. And I do attend a lot of these events. And at the moment, all of them are online. So as long as you just like go to an event and just search SEGA, it'll probably be my name that will pop up at any of these kind of B2B events. So yeah, I'll be more than happy to kick off the conversation that way as well.
Right. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I hope some people follow up on that one, Bobby. Next question. Yeah, let's brave it because it's a good and important question. You know, not like you said yourself, Bobby. You know, like none of us are perfect. No large organisation is perfect. I'll hand over to the wording of the question now. I'm sure you've had less than desirable experience with partners. What's the biggest culprit for tension? Is it misaligned expectations, poor communication, something else? You know, and I hope in answering this, a developer listening might be watching might be able to kind of, you know, learn about what to avoid or either culprits around. Awkward.
Yeah, what I would do to make sure that you don't make those mistakes is to do your own due diligence on the partner, right? So as we go through the evaluation process, we do a lot of due diligence on the partner that we're talking to and on the project to make sure that it is what we think it is, right? And that there is clearly a really good alignment. But as we're going through that due diligence, I'd really recommend our partners to do their due diligence on whoever they're talking to too, right? Like if you Google SEGA, Searchlight, Bobby, Wertheim, or just any other studio or publisher, investor, and the key person that you're speaking to, you'll find out stuff about them. There might be articles, there might be videos, you can at least see their portfolio and how they're supporting their games post-launch, or, you know, you can actually figure out quite a lot from doing a bit of research. So I'd highly recommend doing that to make sure that you know who you're talking to and what they really understand what they're saying, and then look at what they're doing to go, okay, they're saying this thing, are they actually doing it, right? And that way you can ensure that you are aligned, because I think misalignment of expectations is a massive problem in terms of people's happiness, not just in terms of what we're talking about here today, but just in general, right? So as long as we're aligned with our expectations, I think that's a good start.
Fantastic. The next question that's come through, oh, well, not the next question, but one that seems like a reasonable follow-up there is, and it's a really good question, what would be the best time in a concept's development to approach SEGA? What deliverables would you expect in an initial pitch? A playable demo, fully formed dev team, clear concept deck? Like, is there an ideal time to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it depends is the answer. I'm sorry. But let's say you're an established studio, you've got an existing IP and you're looking to create a sequel or a spin-off to it, then the sooner the better. If you're a team of people that's a brand new studio, but you've got a lot of experience in, let's say, a first-person shooter, and you're looking to create a first-person shooter, the sooner the better. But let's say you used to make first-person shooters and now you're making, I don't know, a rhythm game, let's say, then I'd be like, well, I know you're great at what you were doing before. Not sure if you're great at making this thing now. So in that case, then I definitely want to see a prototype or something, right? Like some kind of something to add to the credibility. I definitely, in all cases, I would like to understand what makes a project important and why I should care about it. Why should anyone care about it? What platforms it's targeting, the budgets, all of that stuff. You know, it's typical kind of spec of the game. I'd also want to understand why this team is the right team to make that game, right? And maybe that's because of your past experience, or maybe that's because of the work that you've already done on that project. And I'd like to also understand what you want from a partner. Like, how can SEGA really add value to this project, right? And the more that I can understand that it plays to our strengths and its relevance to us, the more easier the conversation becomes.
Fantastic. I mean, yeah, just such a practically helpful kind of list of insights there. I feel I should. That question was from Thunderbox Entertainment, who also said great talk, by the way. So I'll just get that one over. But yeah, it's something I touched on in my question, but I think it remains an important one to answer. Is some teams might be worried about losing control or autonomy on their projects via small print. Do you think this is a real concern when signing with large publishers? Obviously, it'd be fascinating to hear your insights there, Bobby.
Definitely. No, that is a good one. So with us, rest assured, there isn't, right? That's our approach. That's totally something that it would completely go against what our team is if we were to look to take over creative ownership. And as we're not taking over the IP and the deal when we do project financing, it's kind of like, well, it's your baby, right? It's not Sega's baby, it's your baby. It belongs to your company, right? It's something you created, and we're just here to help nurture that and grow that baby. But yeah, if you're working with investors or publishers, I think it is important to clarify how much control they expect to have. And maybe it's really horrible, but maybe it's worth doing a RACI chart or something. I don't know. But having some kind of methodology or tool that you can use, and it could just be a conversation over coffee, right? But make sure you're using the right tools to really understand, to get to the bottom of what is this relationship going to look like. I think that's going to be really important.
Brilliant. Yeah, another one, great one. We are slightly running out of time. I will try to squeeze in a few more. I'm afraid to the person asking about following SEGA movies, well, I'm sure Bobby is involved in making all of them. We might not squeeze that one in. He does direct them all himself personally, they're all personal projects. But yeah, actually, might need a short answer, but you mentioned that you had an eye on VR. It's a very simple question. Are you accepting pitches for VR games?
So I say I keep one eye on VR, AR, and mobile, but that's more on a kind of landscape, right, at the moment. And I'm not actually proactively pursuing pitches in any one of those things at the moment. But I do keep one eye on it, right, to just go, okay, when is the right moment for us to go, right, this is something that we can really get behind.
Right. Okay. So it almost sounds like there's the spirit of never say never, even if you're not proactively pursuing those.
Absolutely.
Well, a couple more questions that are good ones as well, but I'm afraid we really must wrap up there. But yeah, just again to say thank you so much, Bobby. Like the amount of practical, transparent, fascinating insight there was yeah, just wonderful. You know, I'm sure that'll be of tremendous use to our audience. As you said, I think you've got a couple of the meet to match slots left. Is that right, Bobby?
Yep.
Brilliant. So people can still pester you if they're keen to speak to you. But yeah, yeah. Without having said all that, I shall let you go and get back on with the day. So thank you, Bobby, and enormous round of applause from around the country and around the world. And yeah, brilliant stuff. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye.